Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Chuck Different and Interviews. And in this interview, we are going to get into the detail of JavaScript. We are going to solve multiple interesting problems with JavaScript. So keep watching till the end and make sure that you pause the video in every question and try to implement those solutions by yourself. Do share your solutions in the comment. I will love to see the solutions that you will come up with. Do subscribe the channel, do like before you basically get started. So without wasting further time, we have Karthik. So hey Karthik, how are you doing, man?
I'm good, Chirag. How are you?
Yeah, likewise. So let me tell you interesting thing about Karthik. So Karthik started his journey as a mechanical engineering in the BTech basically, and finally he decided, hey, this is not my interest area, and I wanted to become a software engineer. So currently he is working in as a software engineer, and let me give the mic to Karthik in order to. Why don't you introduce yourself, man?
Yeah. Hi, Chirag. Thank you for the intro. And thank you for inviting me for this interview. So basically, I am a graduate from Manipal University, Jaipur. And after that, currently I'm working at a company. And currently I'm working as a software engineer. So for the past 2+ years, I am working as a full stack developer, which is mostly in the backend part. So working with Node.js and recently started working with Python also.
Awesome. So we are going to solve interesting problem with JavaScript. So I hope you are all set.
Yeah, perfect. Let's go.
So I've shared your link. Can you share your screen and basically get into the code editor? And we have a
Sure.
first problem statement for you. So you may be aware of, although you are working mostly on the JavaScript Node.js backend side of thing, but you may be aware of basic thing like you have something called local storage in the browser. I hope you're aware, right?
Yeah.
So and those local storage does not have any expiry. Like once you have set that is there forever. We
Mhm.
wanted to build something of our own custom, you can say local storage, which can have expiries as well. So in this particular case, if you see, we are going to have our own local host, which actually helps you to get the expiries. So this is what basically you have to implement. You have to implement a function, which is my local storage, which provides you a way to provide expiries as well. So
Okay.
this is where you are going to implement your code. So your code goes here. So if you notice, my local storage dot set item is something which we are setting with a timestamp of 100 millisecond, which is after 1 second, this is going to expire. So if you try to access within that duration, well and good. If not, then bye bye. Similarly, the other one, if you see, if you notice, after 2 seconds, we are trying to get, you won't get the item because you are trying to read the information after it is expired. So this is something that we are going to implement.
Because a few questions here. So,
तो मैं आपसे कुछ मांग सकता हूँ सचमुच में अब मैं मांगूंगा और आप मानेंगे नहीं तो मानेंगे लेकिन अगर करेंगे नहीं तो पक्का करेंगे
is it is what I can understand. It is some kind of object. So basically, it will have two parameters. So this is key and value.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, and we'll also have one timer. So
Mm-hmm.
whenever we set the item, we'll set it with a timer always. And whenever we try to get the item, if it's available in that time duration, then we can get it, or otherwise we'll return just null.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. So you have to ensure that you know that these are the local host APIs, right? So you local host basically provides set item and get item.
Yeah.
So on top of it, you are doing something so that you can also have the expiries because by default browser doesn't provide you the expiry related to local storage. So that is something you are going to ensure that that works. Let's give a shot.
Sure. So,
And meanwhile, whoever is watching, pause it. Try to implement yourself.
since we are using functions, so first of all, my initial intuition would be like using a class first to implement this. But since we are using function, we can go ahead with that also.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say we are just returning an object first,
Mm-hmm.
and it will have uh,
So be mindful. You are not going to re-implement the fundamentals of local storage. What I meant by the data is still going to be stored in local storage. What I meant by when I reload my page, I should still be able to retrieve the data from the storage. In case you are planning to put in your local object, then be mindful when I refresh the page. then your data, your object will be removed, right? Because it's in
Yeah.
cache memory.
So, uh, so we have to use the browser local storage only, right?
Yes.
Okay. Let's say we have this and we call it my store, let's say, and we can get it from window dot local storage. And what we can do is, so what I'm trying to do is, so basically from this function will return an object.
Mm-hmm.
It will have two methods. One is set item and one will be get item.
Mm-hmm.
So set item, let's just implement that. So set item will be a function, and similarly get will be also a function. Okay, so we have the base ready. So now we can implement the logic. So set item will be a function. It will take in two parameters, key value, and also the time.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say expiry. So we have this, and okay, so what we can do is, so basically while implement this, so what we can do is we have this set item. We'll store it in the key value, let's say. And for this, maybe we need key. Uh, let's say we have this value, and now basically what we did is like we need to set the item, right?
Yep.
So when we have this, so what I'm thinking is like whenever we are storing any items, let's say, so we also store that with so we are using the MyStore to store the values, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one more thing I would like to implement here is like get the item expiry. So even though we are storing it in local storage, so it will have the expiry. So if we try to access that after that expiry, it won't work basically.
Okay.
So instead of this, I'll just make this and data, which will be this, and expiry, let's say, which will be. So should I set it to null before that, or like should I set it to new date or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so for now, let's say it's null, and we set the item we get the key. So const, let's say we have this value, and what we can do is const will be this master dot date. Okay, so current date would be, let's say current date date, let's say we also have the item. My store will have this. We can set it to either current data and let do this. So if we have the current data, what we can do is what if user instead of this they say like store data will be. So first I'll just try to access this first. Instead of setting it here, we can, let's say if we have this data, and we okay. So I'm confused about the syntax here. So
I can
window,
help you with the syntax, not a problem.
yeah. So I am trying to set up the data here. So since we are using window.local storage, so like accessing this key, and now I want to set up the key value pair for this.
So help me with one thing. Window.local storage. If I talk about my store.data, what is the type of this? What is data type of my store.data?
So local storage will be an object, right?
Local storage is a function.
Okay.
So local storage is a function which takes key pair value. Like key is the first input and value is the second. So if you see on the left hand side, the example which I have given in my local storage dot set item and get item, the only difference is in set item third parameter is ours. Rest syntax is exactly same. Rest method are exactly same.
Okay.
So set item and get item are method which are provided by local storage as well.
Okay. So like in this also. So
Yes.
if I try to access this and I do, let's say, set item.
So this is you are setting the value. So key value pair.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. So we just set it with the key value pair and my store dot expiry
Oh,
would be,
so what you're setting? My expiry will be set into your local in your memory, isn't it?
yeah.
Which is if I refresh, what will happen?
Okay. So we also need to store that in the local storage.
And you have to understand one more important thing, which is it's not a single expiry. What if I am executing this set item for multiple different keys? I can give different expiries for different keys, isn't it?
Okay. So what we can do here is instead of using this right here, so we'll just do this. And what we can do here is like we'll just create data, let's say, and data will have uh, let's say val will be data can have expiry, right? So data will have this value and value will be let's say this value. We can set up the key here and we'll just do data here. So doing this, we just need to do this. So basically, it only stores strings, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where. So what I'm trying to do is like the object I created above,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to create it here, and while storing in the local storage also, while storing in the local storage, I'll store it with the expiry so that whenever we refresh the browser, so it stays there.
Okay. And what you're going to set as an expiry?
Okay, so expiry.
I'm giving in you millisecond. Like when I'm setting it, that is what I'm going to give you.
Yeah, like this thing, right?
Yes, it's a millisecond.
Uh, so let me think about the date syntax. So uh, so can you help me with the date method? So current date dot sorry current date dot get. I think so. It's get time. So if I'm not wrong, so this is get time,
Mm-hmm.
and this is right here. So we have current date dot get time plus what we have here is expiry. So valid, let's say, not reusing the name,
Mm-hmm.
and expiry. We have expiry, but we need it in milliseconds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so since this is in milliseconds, uh, so let's see, we have this in milliseconds. Let's see. So milliseconds would be like into 6 into let's say so 10,000. So yeah, so this would set it in milliseconds, right?
Mm-hmm.
So expiry, now we have the expiry in millisecond. And what we are doing is, so we are setting it in MyStore.
Mm-hmm.
We are setting the key, and we are also setting the data.
Mm-hmm.
So data will also contain the valid key. So
So your
if
get time is in millisecond only, right?
yeah,
Then what are you trying to do with 16 to 1000?
so basically I'm converting it to millisecond also.
Oh, it's all in millisecond. That's what I said. Your expiry that you get is in millisecond.
So we don't need to do any conversion.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. So this, I think this would be good enough to store
Okay.
with the valid key.
Mm-hmm.
And what we can do in return is just my store dot get item, and we'll just get the key. Yeah, so this pretty much should work, and set it with the valid key.
Who's expiring? Like if I try to access the key, I will get the key. Like in this example, I said the foo. Even I wait for 1 minute or 2 minutes. If I try to get the foo, you will get the result for the foo, isn't it?
Yeah,
The expectation is we should get null.
because so also we need to check if we have the key. So we'll do that in get item only, right?
Mm-hmm.
So once we have the key, what we'll do is basically this current date. So if the current date, if you are trying to access the current date and valid key, that is this, and we have. So let's just for now console the data. So should I run it here only? So how?
Oh, before you execute, let's give a shot. Let's continue writing it. Like, why do you want it to console.log at this moment? Like, you need some hint or suggestion. I'm happy to do that, right?
Yeah. So I'm setting the item, so that thing is done.
Yeah.
Now what I want to do is, so if we have the data, so I'm just checking the syntax of what we have in the data. So we'll have valid and val, right? So once we have that, what I'm planning to do is, if the valid time is basically less than the current time, let's say, so then that key is invalid, and we can just return null.
So what is the data type of data?
So get data. So since we are getting it from the local storage, it will be a string. So
let's continue doing it. Like what you wanted to do is string. You will be doing some comparison as you said. Let's write the code for that.
Okay. So basically, since it will be a string, I'll just convert it to JSON.parse. So if this is valid, so if the let's say so if we have the data and we get the time, right, let's say if we have the current date, if the current date, yes, current date, current time is less than data dot valid, and so if the current time is less than the data dot valid, So this condition would check if the data is still valid.
Mhm.
So basically it has not expired, and so right now we can just return this data dot val.
Okay.
And if we do not have this, we'll just return null.
Mhm.
So this pretty much is checking if the data is valid,
Mhm.
returning the value.
Got it. So now let me put a problem statement in the way. So what I am doing, I am using this for a very very small interval. For a consider example, I'm using local storage for some of the game like implementation, like where user is performing some activity and I'm updating that activity on the local storage.
Okay.
So, and these activities are for very very small interval, like maybe something is for 5 second, 10 second. Those are
Mhm.
the activities which are happening, right? And
Mhm.
what I want. So, do you see first of all any problem with the implementation that you have? Like consider example, I am continuously basically updating some of the data, and very few times I am basically accessing that data. So, but
Okay.
again, I can access any of the data.
Mhm.
Right? Do you see any challenges with the implementation that you have?
The biggest challenge I see here is like basically if we do this for a long enough time,
Hmm.
so the local storage would get overloaded,
Hmm.
and so basically there should be some way of mm, since if the data is no longer valid, let's say,
Hmm.
and we do not need the data, so we can either remove it from the local storage. If that's the one scenario I can think of right now.
Okay,
So
and
basically
where and when we wanted to remove it, let's do it.
okay. So basically this would be the place.
Mm-hmm.
So if the current time is less, so this is valid data. We
Mm-hmm.
don't want to touch that. So if the data is invalid, let's say, so
Mm-hmm.
we'll just remove this. So this is just my store. There is a method to remove. I think yeah, remove item accepts a key. Okay, so we have the key. So basically, I think this would reduce the
Okay, so in
whole.
my problem statement, if you mentioned, I mentioned two important things. One,
Mhm.
like this will only get rid of the keys or the data when you try to access them. If you try to access anything which is expired, then only it will remove it.
Mhm.
What about the things which are stored but not accessed? Like I'm not
So
reading it.
so do we want to explicitly remove that?
Think about ultimately the problem statement remains the same, which is your local store is going to be bombarded. Even you will be having a lot of expired data. So what
Yeah.
you are removing, only the one which you are trying to access and that is not like is still valid, you are trying to remove it. There is still another scenario which is the data which is expired but no one is actually trying to access and it's a garbage which is sitting somewhere in your memory.
So one thing for that is like if the developer is trying to remove it explicitly, we can have one more method. Let's say remove item, something like that.
Oh no, developer is not. So I don't care. Like consider example, I am playing a game, and as a
Mhm.
part of that game, I have written some logic to store that information for some time duration, right? And
Mhm.
based on some condition, if and but I may be accessing some part of it and some part of it may not, because that can depend on the user stream and activity. What is the data I may access and what are the data I may not access, right? So
Okay.
now my point is developer is not going to take care of removing explicitly and remembering all the keys that developer is storing. It can be some
Okay.
random thing based on the timestamp which is getting stored, no one knows, right? Now the
Yeah.
responsibility is I set, I don't care. Now internally the library that you're creating is should take care of removing and doing the garbage collector kind of a thing, right? Or probably the other way, the one which created knows its own expiry and burst itself. Anything can be done, right?
Yeah.
So, what is the best way or the right way we can do?
Uh, so let me think from the application perspective. So
Mhm.
basically, if we are implementing this in let's say a React project,
Mhm.
so basically, and there is a there is a game we are implementing this for. So one thing I can think of is, so if we do some kind of let's say a timer, let's say, so if we set some kind of timer that will just after some time it will go and check if any keys are invalid, so then the developer doesn't need to write
In that
any.
case, you have to read all the keys after that interval, do a parse, and all sort of thing every interval.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a good practice?
No.
I
So
have
basically,
I have 5,000 keys in my local storage.
yeah, that won't be good. Yeah.
Then
So we are removing the visited keys, but the keys we have not visited, let's say. Uh, so can we? So we can either do cleanup function. Let's say we are running it at a given interval. That won't work. Uh, s- so basically, I can think of that cleanup function only. But since the biggest problem in that case would be like if we are running that continuously, so uh, that would also be a big problem, because if we have a lot of keys, it would be running continuously, and that would also bombard the local. So let's say
okay.
trying to access.
So it
Yeah.
has another issue. Probably, if you can figure it out, line number 22 to 20, maybe the get item. Do you see any critical issue?
If we have this time, let's say. It may be because due to some syntax in
No,
date.
it's not a syntax.
Sorry.
It's not a syntax. It's a logical, proper logical issue that will boom in production for sure.
Yeah. So one thing can be like we are not checking if the data dot value exists. So if that is one thing,
Mm-hmm.
and if the current time is less than the data dot valid, so we are doing that. But let's say if we are not checking the current time. Uh,
No worries on that. I have a let's jump into the other problem statement before we jump into the other problem statement. So guys, I have whoever is watching, I have two problem statement. One, help me with the bug that you see in the get item logic that is written and do share in the comment. Second, how we can optimize on the memory side of thing in terms of removing the expired item. What is the right place and what is the right logic? Try to help come up with those more optimized solution and share in the comment. So let's solve another interesting problem, Karthik.
sure.
Here we go. So basically, I'm sharing a problem statement. I think that should be visible to you. So expand a bit more. You can expand. Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, what you need to do, you need to. So say you had a some fetch. Basically, you need to fetch hundreds of API call, right? So what you need to do, generally you will be using the promise.all, all 100 requests will go to the server at the same time, but there is a burden like low latency, you get a compromise. Again, there are challenges with the browser itself where they have limit in terms of how many APIs can be called at a time depending on the browser that you're using. You can't make like hundreds of API call in a single go from all the browsers. So there are limitation. What I'm looking for, I want you to create a function which is called throttle promises kind of a thing, right? Which will
Okay.
take care of ensuring that these request goes in a throttle fashion. So only certain request will be resolved, then the next set of basically request will go to the server. So if you see on the right hand side, so you have throttle, basically a sync kind of a thing, which you make a request and you pass the hey, out of many of these only 5 requests will be made. Call APIs are the promises, only 5 will be like resolved in order one by one, batches of 5 the APIs will be resolved. So that is
Mhm.
something you have have to basically implement.
Okay. You need it under the API as soon as possible, let's say. If you have
You can say throttle promises. That's a better name. Do that.
yeah. So what I can understand is like we'll give 100 requests to the server, let's say. So whenever we do that, it will get bombarded. So that will reduce the performance. So for that, we are implementing this throttle promises,
Correct.
and we'll give it the number of API calls, which is the second parameter.
Right.
And the call APIs is what will be this one? So this will be all the
It's a
100.
set of promises. These are those 100 API calls.
Okay. Okay. So these are 100 API calls, and we have this. Let's see. So what we can do in this case? If we are my basic instinct would be implement a queue, let's say, so that whenever we request something, we put it into the queue, and the rest of the things are waiting in the queue. So okay, so
This is what the list of all the API calls. So this is the I made, say, suppose 5-7 calls basically, which is call API.
okay.
So
And we have to pass
this
it,
is
right?
so these are the fetch call, you can say, are the promises which are being passed, which have different time interval in which they are going to resolve. What you have to ensure, only 5 at a time should basically be there in the network call.
Okay, so first try would be this. So what we can do is like whenever we get a, let's say, this array, so what we'll do is like basically create a queue sort of thing. So and when we try to execute those requests, so we'll first move the 5 requests and resolve that, let's say, and after that there will be these 3 requests to be waiting in the queue. So we can implement some sort of logic there to take care of the which next things will need to be implemented, let's say.
Let's do that.
Okay.
So you can reduce the left pane and you can focus on your problem statement.
Yeah. So let's say we have this. APIs.
Just a second, I will just write one thing, which is implement this. Go ahead.
Sure. So let's say we have this, and what we'll do is, let's say we have something like this. So whenever we have the APIs, what we'll do is like we'll just create so let's say we are returning a promise here. These are promises. So let's say we are implementing just so what I'm thinking is, so well, let's say we push everything to the queue, let's say whenever we are getting this function. Once we are pushed in the queue, so basically we can just break the queues in the according to the max limit. So once we are so but we also need to keep track of the let's say APIs which are already executed. So we need some kind of data structure to store the APIs we have already executed. So let's say we have this current execute So basically, this is currently what we are at the index we are executing. So whenever we store in the result, so we know what next needs to be executed.
Okay.
Uh, let's say we have an array of done. So now what we can do is APIs dot. Um, so basically, if we have this, um, let's say we have APIs dot for each. Let's say so once we are doesn't make sense to. So we also need to store the results, right? So this would do that. If we somehow manage to from the so basically if we somehow manage to do this, um, so we have this list of executed, we have this if we, so I'm trying to figure out like how do we resolve this in order. So basically if we start from the first one
Mm-hmm.
and we try to resolve this in order, like let's say we are just executed the top 5 one and we have to wait for basically executing them all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before moving it to the next thing.
Oh, not necessary. Why? So,
So
so consider example in your browser also. It does the queuing kind of a mechanism. So,
yeah,
what I'm saying, consider example. I have a set of 5. The one of them is going to take 10 minutes, and all of are taking few seconds. Do you want me to wait, make all the other calls to wait for that 10 minute?
no, not exactly.
Not exactly, right? So
Yeah,
what I have given is a maximum cap of a throttle, which is maximum 5 calls can actually go at a time. I'm not saying until unless the first set of 5 calls basically are done, then only the next set of 5 calls has to be made. Because that won't be a performant way of execution, isn't it?
yeah, correct.
So we wanted to help with the performance, but also we don't wanted to get into the second trap, which is overall response time.
Okay, so we just need to call these APIs, right?
Yes.
Let's say what we can do here is like let's say we have res. So I'm kind of confused here. So let's say uh, we are iterating over this calls API, let's say, so which is the APIs. So the thing I am concerned about or confused about it, so we don't need to track, let's say, done
Mm-hmm.
right now. So as you said, so we can either have some kind of flag or something like that, so that we know that we have executed till this point, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you really wanted to maintain a flag? Do the like you can always.
So basically, if we do not want to execute this, right? Uh, let's say get it done. So for each API, we'll have this API and currently executing this. So we need this for I think this is a bit confusing, but the result should be straightforward, I guess. Uh, request.
If you want some hint, I can.
Yeah, that would be.
Okay, so don't concentrate on everything. Just concentrate on the first batch that you got, probably. Right? So just consider you have 5 API calls that need to be executed in parallel. How you're going to do that?
So basically, if we want to execute that, so we can do promise.all.
Whatever you wanted to do, let's do it.
Okay, let's say we have this for loop. Let's say.
Is it promise.all? Like what you're going to do? Promise.all or?
Yeah, so I'm thinking is if we move in batches and we basically first need to store somehow.
That's why I'm saying, hear me out. Break
Yeah.
the problem statement and do one thing at a time. So consider you have APIs, whatever that list of APIs is, right? So I'm saying you have a max limit. Example, you have a limit of 5. So out of those 10, 15 APIs, you have to concentrate on executing 5. So get the subset and execute that. As simple as. Let's focus on that.
So basically breaking it into the. So first we need to break it into small chunks, right? That's what you're saying.
You don't break. Just concentrate on the first chunk, which is 5. Max limit is 5. Get the first 5 from the APIs and execute all of them. Let's do that.
Okay, so let's first execute this only. I is first and I will be plus. Let's say plus equal. So I think this loop will get us the first 5 and we'll just move it in, loop it in the maximum limits.
What is the last one? I plus max. What do you wanted to do this? What is this?
So this will be I plus this one, right?
Why are you say suppose it is first I is 0, the second I will be 6.
Yeah. So
again, hear me out what I'm saying, Karthik. I'm saying concentrate on first 5. Why are you concentrating on after 5? You're getting my point, what I mentioned. Just concentrate on executing first 5, which is your limit. Your limit is 5, isn't it? I'm saying concentrate on executing first 5. If you have the solution for that, you have solution for everything.
Okay.
You're overcomplicating your problem statement. That's why I'm recommending you. Okay, let me simplify more. You have APIs.
Yeah.
From APIs, how do you get first 5 item? APIs is an array, huge array. How do you get first 5 item?
So I can just splice it, let's say.
Let's do it.
Const chunks, let's say. And this is APIs.splice. So this will be starting from 0. And first would be start number and this will be max limit.
Perfect. So you have 5 first chunk ready. Execute this first chunk.
So let's say, so what I'm thinking here also, do we need to use promise.all? So basically it will also wait for the given time, right? Let's say.
So if you don't want it to, what is alternative?
So we can just loop it over it.
Let's do it.
So for let's say chunks dot for each data. Now we have this task. We are doing this. So basically, we'll have. So basically, we have this. Sorry for this.
No worries.
Data. So I think the promise.all would be easier, right?
So
In
what
this-
that is a problem. Reason being promise.all, you will be waiting for entire 5 thing to be resolved. That we don't want. How do you call? How do you execute one single promise? So instead of data, write it promise. You will have a better visibility. So instead of a keyword as in data, write it as in promise. So if you have a promise, how do you execute a promise?
So basically, promise.resolve.
Oh, so resolve.
Promise.then. Sorry.
So you have to first execute the promise, don't you think? Are you
Sorry?
executing? So what you got? You got a promise. Are you
Yeah.
executing that promise?
So we have. So I'm a bit confused. So we have this API. So
What
this will be
what
task.
task will return you?
Sorry.
What is going to be written from a task? Scroll up.
Okay, it's returning a new promise. And once we have that, so we'll do promise.then.
Okay,
Or
sure. Let's
we
keep
can
going.
catch.
So once it is resolved, you will get the result of this.
Yeah, correct.
Now, what do you
So-
do with this result?
So basically, first we have implemented this first 5 things, right?
Hmm.
And what we can do is once we have this, so basically we'll just update the currently executing thing. So we need to move it to 6, let's say, and then after
Again,
that,
you are concentrating after 5. Your job is not done for the first 5. Okay, let me help you out. If you have just 3 APIs and you have a limit of 5,
okay.
give me the result of those 3 APIs. You got
So
my
basi-
problem statement? I'm saying I'm giving you a limit of 5, but I'm just giving you 3 promises that are going to be executed. Let's concentrate on that.
Okay, so we don't need to solve after that, right?
You will eventually, that will solve, but first solve for the 5. You're not solving for the 5, you're trying to jump what will happen for the next chunk. So what you got is the result D. What you're going to do with this D?
This one part, right?
So what you're going to do with D? You're getting my point?
Okay. So we just need to, let's say, push the data.
Okay.
Now
Here is the question. Is that correct? Whatever you have written, is that correct?
yeah, we have this, and we'll just, once this is resolved, we'll get the data and we'll push it to the result.
Is that correct? You're pushing the data to the result. Is that correct?
Once we have this pushing dot data,
Okay, I'm changing the dataset C on line number 8. So first is going to execute after 10 seconds, after 1 second instead of 100 millisecond. Now, the output that you're sending me, is that correct? So what your output will have? Second promise with 200 millisecond, third with the 300 millisecond, and then third promise, which is the data with the 10 seconds basically, right? Not 10, 1 second basically.
One
So
second, yeah.
is that correct? The output that you're giving me is 200, 300 and 1000. Is that correct?
No, so it should be resolved with time. That's it. This should be the output, right?
So you should give me the outcome should be the same, which is 1000, 200 and 300, isn't it?
Yeah.
The order in which the result I should get is the same.
Okay, so that should be same.
Oh, why not? Like, it's simple. Like, you are giving me the result of first promise at a second place and second as a third. How I'm going to consume the outcome of those API responses? So you may be doing internally queue mechanism. You do any damn thing, but you have to give me the result in the same fashion so that I can map it back. Like what was the request and what is the response I'm getting back? If I'm not able to map it, then how I will relate it? How I am going to consume it? Don't you think?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so this part is a bit confusing here. So we have the results, but we are what you're saying is, so basically we'll push this not in order because this will get executed first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And after that 300. So uh, basically we need to wait till it's executed here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, basically this. I'm not able to figure this out. Why? Like, how should we move ahead with this?
Okay, I can give you one more thing. When you play with array,
Yeah.
what is one thing which never changes? Like array works on which fundamental?
So so array doesn't have that order thing. So basically that's
Array
what.
doesn't have order.
Sorry, what you asked? You asked about
Ar-
array, right?
Yeah. Are you saying array does not have order? Is that the case?
No, no. Array will have order. So array will maintain the order
On what basis array maintains the order?
on basis of indexes.
In basis of indexes.
Yeah.
In case of response, do you have something through which you can still maintain the order of your responses based on the APIs that you were executing?
So if we uh, set up the response in such a way that uh, to match the API's length, I think then we can push that or like set the value at that index.
You can set the data response at that index, isn't it?
Yeah,
Let's do it.
we can do that.
Oh, what are we doing? Like, why we are doing that? So
So
you
basically,
have,
sorry.
so you have responses,
Yeah.
which is empty array. You have to just store that at a response in a respective index, isn't it? Your life is sorted. You got my
So
point.
what I'm trying to do here is like basically we initialize the array with a given length, which will
Why?
match the case.
Why? In case of JavaScript, you don't have to create an array with a length and then only you can operate at a particular index. Don't you think?
Yeah. So result at that index.
Can't you simply say, okay, let's give a shot. Let's see what you're doing. How do you set a result at a particular index and set a value? How do you do that? How do you set a array value at a certain index?
Yeah. So we don't have the index right here. So we
Why?
don't.
Why don't you have index?
So basically we are implementing it from 0 to max limit.
Uh-huh. You
Okay.
don't
So
have index on which this promise is executing.
yeah. So do we have an index parameter right here?
Oh, in for each, don't you get the index?
So I'm not sure about it. So this is the second parameter.
Yes.
Okay. So result at this index would be D.
It's a D, right? So
Yeah.
what you're doing, whichever order it execute, finally it is going to set inside this. There are a couple of things that need to be handled. What about the error condition and whatnot? Considering everything is successful, I'm making a problem statement easy for you. Now,
Sure.
once you get the outcome of, say, suppose out of 4, 5 that you have, now let's take to the next step. Ultimately, in your response, once all the 5 API call are executed, your response will be set with all the responses of the 5. Done.
Yeah.
Now, the next set of question is, I don't want it to wait for this 5 to be completed. As soon as one is completed, I wanted to execute the next set of API. Don't
Okay.
you think? As soon as you get the response of, say, suppose 200 millisecond, you
Mhm.
wanted to spawn the next, which is 400 or whatever, after 600 millisecond in this case.
Okay. So like once we Yeah, so that would be easier, right?
Now do you have solution?
So what you're trying to say is, let's say we are executing these first three APIs. So once and we have max limit of three, let's say.
Hmm.
So we execute this part is done. So basically now we are below our max limit, so we can incorporate four also. Like we
Yes.
can
And
use
now
that.
do you have to consider the batches? No, you can just concentrate on individual promises, don't you think?
Yeah, after this part, right?
Yeah.
So once this is resolved, we can move on to the next thing.
What is that next thing?
Next thing would be, so after
Hmm.
this slice, so after, so max limit plus one would be the next index, right?
Max limit plus 1 will be the next index which you need to execute. But there is few things that you have to basically work upon.
Mm-hmm.
Few things in a sense, your next limit will be tweaked a bit. Like your next limit, so max limit plus 1 won't work as in funda. Reason being, when 300 get resolved,
Mm-hmm.
what will be your next item that you need to pick?
So next item would be four, right? So task 400 millisecond.
So when 200 get resolved, you are going to pick 401. When 300 get resolved, you are going to pick which one?
So when 300 also gets resolved, let's say,
You're going to pick next of that, which is 500,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
How you will get that 500? On what basis? You can't say max length plus 1 or plus 2. That's where you're maintaining that previous value. You're getting my point?
Yeah, can you explain again? So we, let's say 200 is resolved, let's say.
Now you have to get the next promise that need to be executed. How you will get it? You said max length plus 1.
Yeah,
I said, chalo, you got the task 400.
400 thing.
Now
Yeah.
300 also got resolved. Now you have to pick 500 one. How you will pick 500?
Mm. So basically, we need to move ahead with the splice, let's say. We'll just move this index also.
Oh, why you need a range? Once the first set is completed, range is completed. Why you wanted to play with the ranges?
So you are basically saying once we execute this one thing, so
Yeah,
we move on to 400.
let me help you in one realm if you can understand. So in case of relay game, the relay race that you have,
Mhm.
how many people can participate?
Let's say at a time there are four people.
In total, how many people can participate? Hundreds of people, say suppose.
Yeah. Yes, yes.
But at a time, how many people goes is depending on the lane that you have,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
So once you set those 4 lane and make the first 4 set of people run,
Hmm.
do you need to even look forward going ahead? How many lanes or how many queue or how many slice that you are doing, the chunk that you are maintaining? Do you wanted to maintain chunk ahead? The chunk are maintained in order to create a initial set of rows in which you wanted to make people run track, right? Once it
Yeah.
is done, then don't you think it's an individual people responsibility? As soon as you get the next player, you pass the game, let it play. You pass the game, let the other person play, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah. So once we have this, let's say we are running these three. So now we can move on to the next person. So let's say it's task 400
Yeah. As soon
and
as 300 is done, you have to pass it to.
500. Yeah. So once 200 is done, we'll do 400, and after that, if 300 is done, so we'll do 500 like that,
But how
right?
you will maintain that? How you will get to know? No, this time I have to pass to the 500. Is the question, isn't it?
Yeah. So we somehow need to maintain uh, the, let's say, length, or let's say the number we have consumed till now.
So last
So
executed item, basically.
last executed, yeah.
Right? Cool. So
Yeah.
I think you got an idea around how this has to be implemented. So how was your experience, Karthik?
So it was grueling, let's say, and basically need to work around promises.
Okay, no worries on that. I hope you overall enjoyed the questions, the way we basically dive into things. Probably you got to learn few things basically out of this interview.
I really enjoyed that part, and the experience from the interview perspective is really good.
Awesome. Great. So whoever is watching, just share your solutions, just share your feedback for Karthik before even I jump into and give the feedback. I want you to give the feedback for Karthik in the comment. And definitely Karthik is also looking forward along with me in order to hear your feedback. If you are the interviewer, then what you are going to basically take as a call, which is important. Now, let me quickly give you a couple of the feedback, Karthik. Like one, the overall, if I see you have good understanding about writing the code, writing the fundamentals and all sort of thing. The only thing which I felt in the entire round is like you wanted to achieve the final outcome from the first cut itself, right? Most of the time, if you see a bigger problem statement, the simplest solution of that is starting with the simple things. Don't overcomplicate your solution from the first cut itself, because if you notice, uh, the kind of a hint I am trying to give is making sure you get started. Once you get started, you start seeing the, oh, what is the next step, probably how I execute and roll out to the next milestone. Because when you chase for a like bigger problem is like a marathon, right? And if you see, hey, I have to run for 25 kilometers, you are done. You will lose the game in the start of your game itself. Where if you try to focus, hey, let me try to chase my capability. Last time it was maybe 3 kilometers, let me try to go for 3.5 kilometers this time. Once you basically reach over there, you will get a confidence, hey, if I can do 3.5 kilometers, let me go ahead, maybe let's try for 5 kilometers, right? That's how basically we go and keep on solving problem. That is important. The other thing, one important feedback I would love to give, Karthik, in interviews, always remember one thing. Interviewer want you to basically like pass the interview, like successfully complete the interview. So
Okay.
all the hints which are given with the intent, hey, let's leverage that and make a progress and keep going towards the solution. So be a very good listener in terms of what are the kind of hints which are given. Example, I tried giving you multiple hints basically in one realm, which is, hey, concentrate on first set of 5 API call, concentrate on first set of API call. And you're like, no, what will happen after 5, right? Trying to solve the next set of things. That is a differentiate, right? So once you have those 5 set of APIs call executed, you started seeing, hey, what could be done possibly, probably for the next, right? So try to concentrate on a smaller chunk and try to replicate that for the bigger one. That's a way to basically conquer any of the bigger problem, right? I hope those were something that you will work upon, and definitely I would love to hear more things from you. And with that, thanks a lot everyone for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And if you wanted to basically come on the other side and basically be a guest in my podcast, so you are welcome. Just fill the form, put in the comment that you are looking forward to give an interview with me. So with that, see you. Bye bye. Thank you.